Desperation by Ray Kuipert. Tea Gardens, 2324. Narrated by David Tredinnick. Derek Mansfield was truly at his wits' end. With the chaos around him that day in April 1975, all he could think of was how to find his much-loved girlfriend, Luella Nguyen. He had begged her to take shelter in the Australian Embassy in Saigon, Derek's workplace, but she'd gone out into the suburbs in a probably vain bid to find her sister, Rose, and bring her back. With the North Vietnamese shelling as their invading army began their occupation of the southern stronghold, there were so many casualties, and all around was panic and confusion. To add to Derek's dilemma, Luella wasn't his only concern. He'd been entrusted to rush diplomatic messages to the similarly desperate United States Embassy to offer assistance with the coming evacuation of essential personnel. There would be space on the RAAF aircraft scheduled to depart on a last flight out, should none be available with the Americans. D-Day for this was Anzac Day. Allies to the end. Ambassador Price, is there no alternative to going in person? He was truly desperate, Derek. Derek, the phone lines are down thanks to the NVA artillery blasts hitting the main exchange. There's no electronic communication, neither phone nor fax. Officer Mansfield, it's up to you. Here's the sealed envelope. A motorbike was at his disposal, and, with a .45 revolver strapped to his hip, plus an emergency kit in his saddlebag along with the diplomatic envelope, Derek roared away from the official compound. The Colt 45 would hardly even the score should he encounter NVA Army patrols within Saigon, but it was some comfort. Derek knew the incoming invaders were spreading through the South Vietnamese capital, but hoped they weren't right here yet. Well, he was about to find out. Roaring through the city centre, deftly dodging what traffic was still on the roads and the fallen masonry from artillery-blasted buildings, Derek was indeed conflicted. His mission to the US Embassy was certainly paramount, but so was the urge to locate and bring to safety his beloved Luella. She'd been promised a visa to return to Australia with him. There'd be no future for sure here in Saigon once the communists took over. As a collaborator, in their sight, with the cursed capitalist powers, all she'd have to look forward to would be a concentration camp. On the horns of a dilemma as he was, suddenly ahead lay an immediate challenge. Roadblock. Not the South Vietnamese army, but an advance patrol of the dreaded enemy, North Vietnamese. Seeing him roaring towards them, they readied their rifles to fire. Derek slowed the motorbike and at the same time reached into his saddlebag, extracting a smoke grenade which he hurled in their direction. Boom. Confused by the smoke, their shots went wild as Derek did an urgent U-turn to race away in the direction he'd come from. 2 random bullets hit the saddlebag, only doing damage to the diplomatic envelope, and the close call motivating a greater turn of speed. To be sure, he zigzagged. Safe now for the moment, Derek was no closer to either goal. All he could do was weave the motorbike through alleyways in the direction of the American Embassy, hoping against hope he could find a way through, and meet no more patrols. Sadly, for now he was no closer at all to finding poor Luella. In a cold sweat, Derek awoke and looked at his bedside clock. It was only 1:12 a.m, and it showed today's date, 25th of April, 2025. Anzac Day. The 50th anniversary of that desperate dash so long ago in war-torn Saigon, now renamed Ho Chi Minh City. He was so uptight at that distant memory which had risen from his subconscious brain to become this early morning nightmare, and doubted he'd find sleep again, especially as they'd set the alarm for 2 o'clock. So he quietly rose from his bed, anxious not to waken his still sleeping wife, and went out to the kitchen to make himself a cup of jasmine tea. Minutes later, quietly relaxing with the steaming liquid, Derek reflected on how he'd almost lost his life so long ago. It was a miracle he'd eventually found Luella, frantically sheltering with Rose in a doorway some streets away. "Get on!" he'd yelled, and somehow the 2 slim Nguyen sisters had managed it, squeezing onto the pillion seat as Derek had roared away on the now heavily laden bike in the direction of the US Embassy. Through a second miracle, there were no more NVA patrols, and he got there, delivering the precious diplomatic papers, including the sealed envelope. The Americans were beyond grateful, and provided an armed escort for them back to the Australian Embassy. By the skin of their teeth, all three made it to Australia on the last RAAF plane out of Saigon. Well, that was then, and this was now. In his 70s, and maybe not the slim 20-something man of his Vietnam days, Derek reflected on his general good health and fortunate life. Happily married with 3 children, and now a grandfather, life was good. His wife, too, enjoyed good health and a regime of morning exercise to keep herself fit. Not this morning, however. Today would be reserved for attendance at the dawn service in Martin Place. Neither of them would miss it for the world. The memories continued to flood his mind during the next half hour or so, and then Derek heard the bedroom alarm go off and detected his sleeping wife stirring. She was sitting up, yawning and stretching when he found her. Seeing him there, she was curious. "You're up already, Derek, honey. Did you have a bad night?" "A terrible nightmare from the old days. Forget it. Nothing beats the present." To console him, she kissed him good morning. He responded, and his reply was immediate. "Every day with you is a good one. No doubt about that, Luella." The end.